University of Ghana UTAG reacts to the demolition of toll booths on campus by national security operatives, describing it as an affront on the school. Tax experts warn government's penchant to simply increase taxes without addressing loopholes in the system could backfire. West African Defense Chief to meet in Guinea-Bissau to discuss bolstering security in the region in general and in Guinea-Bissau particularly. Islamist militant group Ansar Bayt alMaqdis says it carried out a deadly bomb attack on a tourist bus in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula on Sunday. Those are major stories for the year. My name is Kemini Nyamani Amano. This is News Today. I'll be right back with the details of the stories and plenty more. Don't go away. And welcome to News Today. National security operatives have pulled down toll booths being erected by the University of Ghana to collect road tolls from motorists entering the school. National Security Coordinator Colonel Larry Gbevlolati, retired, confirmed the demolition to Joy FM Super Morning Show. He said the university authorities have no right to put up the toll booth at the Acquah section of the road leading to the university campus.
It's causing a lot of nuisance because the traffic juts back into the traffic light, and people coming on the highway from a bridge to Accra, from Medina to Accra, get stuck there for long periods. We found that to be unacceptable. Complete nuisance too, causing complete disaffection to the general public. What we did was to send people to go and tell whoever is in charge of that security thing that that was a wrong place to locate whatever they were doing. Nothing happened. They continued. The situation was the same. I went there personally on Sunday, left a note on my complimentary card for his boss, who he said was ACP retired, alMaqdis, I think. And on that note, I said that that particular position was wrong in whatever deployment he was doing, because it was causing a lot of nuisance, and therefore they would have to relocate. I left my phone, I left my mobile phone and asked that he should call me. I didn't receive any call from him, and the situation continued. Now, yesterday, I went there personally and told the guys that they will have to move further inside. If they are going to deploy some military checkpoints in there to ensure they achieve their aim, that is their business. But they cannot come that much forward and completely disrupt, traffic on the road. So they moved up forward. But what I'm saying is that they also started some construction. And let's be very clear about this when you say they went and pulled down toll booths. They started some construction at that point, which I can see they intend to turn into a toll booth when completed. And that has been removed because it cannot be there. So basically, that is what it is.
Meanwhile, the University of Ghana chapter of the University Teachers Association of Ghana has come out with a strongly worded statement expressing their utmost surprise, shock and dismay at the act of the national security operatives. Lagbon Bimi is president of UG UTAG. We'll find out why they are surprised by this. Hello, Lagbon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Why are you surprised? Colonel says they have always been in touch with you.
Oh, thank you so much. If you really listen to him, they have not been in touch with anybody in actual fact. The investment authorities are there. Like the way he put it, on Sunday or yesterday, you drive to the checkpoint and start talking to the guys who are collecting the tolls there. Are they the investment authorities? Are they the people you should be talking to? The investment authorities are there. You need to get to the investment authorities and give them a directive.
Dr. Bimi, yes. How do you know the national security had not been in touch with the school authorities?
I told you that yesterday he was there himself. Sunday he came there himself, and they left some card with the guys there that whoever is in charge should call him. You don't know whoever is in charge of the University of Ghana?
Dr. Bimi. Hello, Dr. Bimi. Please go ahead.
Yes. So what we are saying is the University of Ghana have authorities. If, for the way he put it, if the main reason was causing traffic congestion, I can tell you for a fact that issue has long been addressed. When they started collecting the tolls, you could realize that the toll booth was closer to the main road. They assessed the situation and then reviewed it and moved the toll booths, those who collect the tolls, closer into the university campus. And even as of yesterday, they were almost at the roundabout, nowhere near the traffic light that were causing the traffic. We started the program, we see the challenges, and we address them. So it is a non-starter to say that because of traffic, they have no right to start the toll booth. Yes, they have no right to do that. If that is what you think, just contact the university authorities, tell them for ABC, we think that you should stop this or you should remove this. Not that you come in under the cover of darkness. Why under the cover of darkness? Pull it down and then sneak out without talking to anybody. Leave a card. Anybody who is so concerned could give you a call. Give me a break.
But we also understand that since you moved further from the old charging booths, the traffic situation has eased a bit.
It has eased drastically, not just a bit. You need to come and see things for yourself. And
so there was a problem.
Our problem is that you don't build a house, appoint me as the landlord, and you can still come in and do whatever you want and walk out. University of Ghana is a law-abiding institution. There are citizens. We have a vice-chancellor. If there is any problem, contact the authorities. If the authorities were even given, we are giving you 24 hours. Stop this thing. And they flout the directive. It's a different case. Not that you just drive in, come and pull down structures and sneak out without talking to anybody. It's not a lawless state.
I see. In other words, national security didn't get in touch with the university before undertaking the demolition exercise, contrary to what Colonel has been telling us.
Under the cover of darkness. What is there to hide? If there is the traffic, you just need to. They will stop the construction, and at the appropriate time they pull it down, broad daylight. Why do you have to come in under the cover of darkness, do it, and leave without any supervision? Any university management authority is there. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., there's certainly a problem somewhere.
I see. You, in your statement, you talk about the fact that the country is a democratic one, governed by democratic principles and not ideals, and ideals, and not by brute force and the use of arms.
No, not at all. Not modern-day Ghana, not 21st century Ghana.
Yeah, my question now is, did they use brute force and arms?
Pulling down a structure and the cover of darkness with heavy air-moving equipment is not brute force. Without telling the university authorities, this is your intention, without telling the authorities, we want you to stop doing this or we'll do it ourselves, the university authorities were not, there hasn't been any official communication to the university. That's our problem. And as I speak to you now, they have pulled this down. We don't know what next. Probably the next time they are pulling down a lecture theater or a lecturer's residence. Are we safe? Are we secure?
I see. And so what now? They have pulled down the structure and you have moved in a kilometer further.
We moved before they pulled down the structure. Let's get right.
I see. So what was the structure still doing there? If you had moved, what was it still doing there?
So we put down the structure. They couldn't tell us that we want this thing to pull down. And who has told them that we're not going to pull it down on Saturday morning or Sunday morning?
So when did you move in further?
I told we started it and we have been assessing and reviewing the situation. Ask anybody who manages traffic. Depending on the situation, you review it.
Dr. Bimi, I'm not sure I got that. I was asking you when the toll booth was moved in further.
That's what I'm saying. It has moved in a number of, after yesterday, it has moved better to very close to the roundabout. But I think earlier by the latter part of last week, it has even moved further from the road, and instead of one person collecting the tools, we had them spread around 4 or 5 to allow the traffic flow. Whilst one is paying here, one is also collecting there. So by the time the 10th person in the row reaches where the first person within the campus, they just flag you to continue. Measures have been taken to ease the traffic congestion, and it has improved the traffic considerably. So this is no excuse at all. There's no excuse to just single out that it caused traffic. That's why the structure was pulled down. Was the structure the one collecting the tools?
But, Dr. Bimi, you're telling me that indeed the structure was not in use because you had already moved in.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes.
And so then there was no traffic situation because it had been moved. Nobody was using it.
That is no reason, yes.
In other words, the national security operatives went to flog a dead horse.
Absolutely, yes. But the question is not just it is the act, how it was done, the modus operandi. The investment authorities are not consulted, so we don't know who can move in and pull down any structure. We have a lot of uncompleted buildings on this campus. Are they coming to pull it down? We have dilapidated lecture halls. We are appealing for renovation. Are they coming to pull it down whilst lecture is in place?
You're not telling me you feel unsafe because of this act, do you?
We are unsafe. We are not scared. Under the cover of darkness, anybody can move in and do anything and go out. National security.
And so what now? What are you doing to make yourself feel safe?
Our press statement, we have indicated we will use any legitimate means at our disposal. As I speak to you now, we are consulting. Me and my executives, the executive committee is consulting. We are consulting the investment authorities, and you soon hear of our next line of action. If it means closing down the university, I'll impress that the university authorities do that. We are here with people's children. And if anybody can just move in and do anything and move out, are we safe? Somebody needs to assure us of our safety. That has to be guaranteed.
I see. Thank you very much, Dr. Bimi. Dr. Lagman Bimi is president of the University of Ghana, chapter of the University Teachers Association of Ghana. Move on to some other stories. And since its launch in 2002 and subsequent passage into law in 2012, the implementation of the Patients Charter, which seeks to enforce the rights of patients when seeking health care, still hangs in the balance. Joynews' Yafusua Jemfi reports patients whom the charter seeks to protect know little or nothing about it, leaving them at the mercy of health professionals who sometimes abuse these rights.
It's almost midday and the outpatients department of the La General Hospital is teeming with patients. There are several people here, young and old, all seeking one form of medical care or the other. In a bid to be relieved from their pain, many seem to forget or simply not aware of their rights to ensure they get the best of care. The Patients Charter, launched in 2002 by the Ghana Health Service, became law following the passing into law of the Public Health Act in 2012. Under Section 167 of the Public Health Law, a patient has the right to privacy, confidentiality, and access to quality health service, among others. The patient also has the responsibility to provide his or her full medical history to aid in his or her diagnosis. But 2 years since the enactment of the law, the Charter seems to have lost its relevance as the people it seeks to empower are simply ignorant of its existence. Most patients who spoke off camera were either unaware of the existence of the Charter or its contents, especially regarding their rights. A few of the patients, however, told me, though they did not know about the Charter, they still insist on what they believe are their rights when seeking treatment at the hospital.
I did that once, and I didn't get a correct feedback. So, sorry to say, I was very pissed off. So I walked out of the hospital very disappointed. Looking at my circumstance, I think that job is not well done. So I think they need to enforce more resources on that.
As a way of making the Charter work, some hospitals have made platforms such as suggestion boxes and complaint decks available for patients to register their complaints about services they receive at the hospital.
They have a book there where they record, and then from the book is brought to management or the complaint. Then we go through it and resolve it appropriately. Sometimes we have to even call the patient back. We have health education. The morning talks, before they come, they are educated on certain basic procedures in the hospital. Where the person feels his rights has been infringed upon, he has the option to still come forward to complain to management or any staff.
But some health experts say the full implementation of the Patients Charter will be difficult due to challenges of inadequate number of health workers, especially in deprived communities.
The burden in terms of the volume of work on doctors, on pharmacists, on nurses, on biomedical scientists, sometimes the standard ratios don't apply. We need to go beyond the law to provide the kind of logistics, the kind of facilities, the kind of numbers in terms of human resource that would make it more easier and more fair to hold health practitioners and and professionals to the requirements of the patient's right.
Ernest Abuaje adds, the growth of private health insurance schemes poses another challenge as healthcare providers sometimes have to disclose the conditions of their patients to get their bills covered.
The person who is financing the health, who is financing the care, would want to know what is wrong with the patient. That becomes a third party, or where even the employer is the one financing the care that you're providing. If that employer wants to know what is wrong with the employee, what does the health provider or the health facility do? Do you refuse to disclose to the financier of the health? I mean, I'm sure ordinarily there may be the temptation to, but I think legally speaking, the right to confidentiality would seriously have to be looked at.
Though passing the charter into law is a bold step, what remains is for patients to be educated about their rights and responsibilities under the charter, and one can only hope health authorities will take the initiative which will lead to a full implementation of the contents of the charter. Yafusia Jemfi, Joy News, Accra.
Every year, most of the medical doctors posted to the 3 regions of the north refuse to go, despite the fact that a good number of doctors come from that part of the country, particularly the Upper West region. The fact that the region has the poorest doctor-patient ratio in the country is therefore a source of concern and frustration to residents, including Regional Minister Dr. Ephraim Avia Ansar. Manasseh Aturi Awene recently traveled to the region and now reports.
I've talked to anybody that I can find that will support to try and see how we can get doctors. In fact, this year, they posted about 10 of them since last year, late last year. And then only about 4 of them have come. In fact, one of them went back, and I'm not sure he's even back yet.
Between 2010 and 2012, 35 medical doctors were posted to the 3 regions of the north. However, none of them accepted posting there. There are 22 hospitals, 94 health centers, 181 functional CHIPS compound in the 3 northern regions, but most of them do not have medical doctors. Interestingly, a good number of doctors in Ghana come from that part of the country. The Upper West region, for instance, is said to have produced a good number of the country's medical doctors and health specialists. In the Upper West region, some districts do not have medical doctors serving in health facilities there. Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Ephraim Avia Ansar says the current situation is unacceptable.
People keep seeing the north as a Siberia, in let's say in quotes, in the sense that it's a place that they are not able to get their lives fulfillment. For instance, I understand that while they are doing normal practice, they can do part-time, they can attend their school, they can put their children in better schools. That means they can make extra income. And when they come here, they might not have, in terms of perception, they might not have the kind of school for their children. They might not make as much income, extra income that they will have. They might not be able to do part-time lectures or online or whatever lectures. They might not have the internet connectivity as you have.
The argument many professionals advance against accepting postings to the north is the absence of amenities such as good schools for their children. But Dr. Ephraim Avia Ansar says this argument is flawed, especially for those from that part of the country.
There's this kind of wrong perception about the north, that it's a difficult place, it's sunny, and it's dusty during this time. So that wrong perception about this place to make the people who are supposed to come here will not come. But the people who come from here, I find it difficult to explain why they are not here. It is those other factors that we have said. And of course, some other cultural factors, they think when they stay here, there's so much pressure on them, and so they might be able to develop as fast as they can. So if there's serious epidemic, their sisters, sometimes some of them, their wives are here, their blood brothers are here. Now, what would they be doing? Are they going to now mobilize doctors from outside the country or from there? When are they going to convince them to come and save their own people?
So why does the Upper West region produce doctors but does not have doctors to serve its people? Dr. Elias Sori is the immediate past Director General of the Ghana Health Service and a native of the region. Dr. Sori comes from a village with a population of less than 2,000, but that village has produced 4 medical doctors.
I go home, I talk, we organize meetings. That is something that people don't know. how indigents, even though they might not be there working, they go to encourage, try to support the schools, to let people learn. The health might not be, but the support can be there. I think, yes, others can do same, but let us not look at how many doctors come from there. Let's look at how we can get doctors to be in the place, and we've got the brains to be able to.
Manasseh Azuri Awuni's report.
The Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly has instituted a 5-member committee to investigate the demolition exercise that took place at the Shaman Gardens at the early hours of Sunday. The committee is to submit its report to the Assembly in a week's time. This was decided by the Metropolitan Security Council at an emergency meeting. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reports.
Terms of reference of the committee are to establish whether the High Court has given any order of authorizing the demolition exercise, whether the order, if any, was legally executed, ascertain the extent of damage caused by the exercise, among others. The committee would also find out persons who played role in the demolition exercise.
Because normally, if you want to do any demolition in the city, you have to speak to the mayor. And nobody spoke to me, so the exercise was done. And at least, I mean, there are laws and there are laws. If people are supposed to be evicted by the law, I think the best thing was to just give them notice. We didn't have any notice for them. And I know times are hard. People are, lost so much money and lost property. That is why I've taken it on me to investigate this matter and go to the bottom of the matter.
The affected traders have begun raising structures at the site to continue business. Our cameras captured some of them struggling to join woods to raise their shops. Others stood sad to discuss issues of the demolition. Counsel for the traders, lawyer Arthur AJ, explains what transpired in court. He says what the plaintiff is seeking to relate was not well reflected in the orders of the court.
Clearly, what they had come to court for was a motion asking for 2 persons to be injuncted, because in respect of so many of the other defendants, the court has stayed its hands. So they were only asking that the 2 people should be injuncted and prevented from coming to trade on the site. Now, any other thing that is shown on that piece of document they call the order of the court will not be what the court has said. And I have indicated that the best person to contact is the registrar of the court, not just for the copy of the order, but also for the recorded versions of our voice.
He adds that the action of the Adishaman Gardens could lead to contempt of court.
It is important to emphasize that the court is the place of solace where we all run to. If we can engineer our affairs in such a way that we compromise the orders of the court in the manner that is going on, then clearly we are all at risk. Today is the women involved, 300 women or so. Tomorrow it might be my mother, it might be my sister, or tomorrow it might be me, myself. So it's important that we all respect the procedures of the court and the orders that the court comes to, and nothing more. Assuming even for purposes of the discussion that they had had the order they are talking about, assuming they had even had the order they were talking about, automatically that order is stayed for 7 days by law. So on what basis would they have had to go there and to cause the commotion that they did?
Efforts made by Joynews to speak to the plaintiff proved futile.
The New Patriotic Party will on April 12, 2014 hold its National Delegates Congress in Tamale in the Northern Region to elect new national executives. Michael Kabna Ampon is an aspiring national youth organizer of the NPP. He's gone through vetting and, well, he's joined us here in the studio. We'll find out what he's bringing aboard the NPP. Hello, Michael.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on News Today.
Oh, happy to have this opportunity and privilege.
Right, you're going against Samuel Ebuku, Charles Eduje, Figipti Owari, Emmanuel Atefa Danso, Pius Enam Hadiji, and Richard Nyama. What are your chances of being the national youth?
Well, let me begin by saying that anybody who has been able to go through vetting is somebody we need to commend and not to underrate. In Ghana, we say that when there's going to be a football match and the opposing team fails a toddler, and is able to make it to the first 11 of the opposing team, treat him like an adult. So I treat everybody as an adult. So I'm not underestimating or underrating anybody.
But what are your real chances?
I want to believe that this party is a party of tradition. People comes up by merit. And in as much as I have a respect for each and everybody who has filed, I believe I want to do a fair assessment of ourselves and the position we want. I believe all these ones are relatively, inexperienced or a bit novices as far as the position is concerned. You see, somebody aspiring to become a national youth organizer should come with at least 3 basic qualities. One, you must have an extensive, in-depth knowledge of the countryside. It is not just enough to run into a radio station and think that you want to become a national youth organizer. You should be able to have enough working experience with the various constituencies across the regions of Ghana. So that when you are put, say, in Upper East, you should know Binduri, Pusiga, Garu, Timpani, Bongo, Zebla, Namdam. When you are put into Northern region, you should know Yendi, Myeong, Sang, Savlugu, Bushegu, and beyond. And beyond that, you must also come on board with leadership credentials. At least you should be somebody who has led some credible youth organizations in the country. I have been a TESCON organizer, and I want to put on record, I was one of the few young guys who were trained by the late Kwashiga, Brigadier Dare and Dambotri, to recruit students to vote at Upper East and Upper West region in 2000. Then as a TESCON organizer for both West and Central region, I became TESCON president, became SRC president for University of Cape Coast, sat on the National Organized Students Central Committee as a chairman when Baba Jaman and others happens to be executives from Legon. So it tells you the level of experience I've gotten. Per experience and per knowledge, I have a strong feeling that this, and beyond that, don't forget I've been a research officer from the castle through to the Blue Gate, which you call or which we call not castle, but people call national security. Then, until quite recently, the research officer for the flag bearer for 4 solid years in his own office. Then the Greater Accra Communication Director. Beyond that, I am biologically a Fanti from both Central and Western region, the both Fanti regions. My mom comes from Adnan Yakrum. My dad comes from Sefi.
I see. Michael, right. So let's just move on to another important issue. What has to do with the talk of grassroots unity within the party. Grassroots mainly is made up of these young people who wish to do all they can for the party. What is your plan as far as grassroots unity is concerned?
Well, one thing that motivates me a lot to even continue to vie, this is my third attempt, has to do with the fact that there are many young men and young women whom we some of whom are our seniors and others are college engineers, who between the year 2000 and 2008 sacrificed virtually their academic life, their entire life, doing MPP party politics. And many of these people have a sense of neglect. They think there was not a real recognition for them, and there was no any program to see to their personal enhancement and development. I have a strong feeling that when you want to go to a war and win, you don't go to war with recruits or amateurs. No senior army commander will want to go to war with an amateur or a recruit. And these young men and young women who were part of the struggle in 2000, 2004 and 2008, they are still very relevant. We need to identify them from wherever they are in their communities, in their constituencies, motivate them and bring them on board to come join with the younger generation to be able to ensure that we have a full blend team that is able to wrestle power from our colleagues such as Free Ankra, Haruna Idrisu, Baba Jama, Omanebo Ama, Blakwa, Fifikwete. These are all guys that we all grew up together.
How does that change the notion that grassroots will help you to get into office, and then at the end of the day, you pay us our returns for helping you do that?
That is, you see, power itself attracts. The moment a political party wins political power, everybody says we were those who voted for. And that is why any party that has the potential of forming government should put in place a program that is able to identify its members. I'm talking about people who do hardcore grassroots politics in our communities, in our villages, in the ghettos. There should be a program, there should be a comprehensive data, so that there should be a program in place that will cater for them. Obviously, don't be surprised that you may be a known party activist in a particular constituency, but you may not have the access. I'm talking about power access when the party is in government. Okay, that is, and however, somebody who might have not done that serious open politics, but because of relationship may have access than you. And I have a strong feeling that it was not deliberate to ignore or to neglect young men and young women who have sacrificed for this party over the years. I can tell you, in the year 1998, 99, 2000, our colleagues who today are ministers, they will tell you when they were on campus, like if it's Acquah, Aruna and others. Even those times when they were on campus, the thing was very, very, invisible. They were not invisible. They were invisible as compared to the MPP. The MPP then enjoyed massive support. So that is why we need to put in place a program that will cater for the people at the very grassroots level.
Thank you very much, Michael, for passing through News Today. Michael Kwabena Ampho is aspiring NPP National Youth Organizer, and we wish him all the best. You stay on. I'll be right back with some more news. I'm glad you could stay on. Now, tax experts have warned that government's penchant to simply increase taxes without addressing loopholes in the system could backfire. Government is therefore being advised to be bold and think up more innovative ways to burden the tax net. The advice comes at a time that government is faced with a ballooning wage bill, which is putting pressure on its resources. Etunam say has more.
The country currently spends more than what it collects as revenue, while 60% of what is collected also goes to settle public wages. Another worrying statistic is the fact that only a third of the 6 million eligible taxpayers actually pay. Government has therefore been looking at ways to widen the tax net to meet revenue shortfalls. Tax experts are, however, worried most of what has happened so far has been increases in taxes.
If currently herrings are passing through the loopholes, when you widen with those loopholes, tilapia will go through it. No more herrings. Meaning the big defaulters will now have impetus to evade tax. We can start from various sectors. If we take the professionals, chartered accountants, lawyers, doctors, HR practitioners, consultants, people belong to associations. Before you can practice, you need a license. That license is your card that earns you the income. If you don't have the license, you can't practice. Can the government revenue sit down with the various associations and groups? If you are not up to date with your taxes, you don't produce a tax clearance certificate, you don't get your license renewed.
We have the Registrar General's department. If this is well linked with the revenue authorities, they should be able to identify the new businesses that are coming up. Another means is to track the imports right from the ports to whoever the wholesalers are for that importer, down to the retailer of that wholesaler, and then use that to rope down to see how much you can capture.
He adds, if government keeps increasing VAT on products and services, people will spend less.
Instead of buying tinned, canned food, let's say sardine or, say tinapa, mackerel, I'll go and buy the salmon from the market. Do I pay VAT on that? That is the problem. So we have to look at some of these things. As and when they are increasing prices, people are moving from consuming the taxable items to the non-taxable items. I'm not saying that salmon, or that's the typical how we pronounce it, that salmon on the market is not good. It is good, it is nourishing. But then you're losing the revenue by these adjustments.
The tax policy advisor at the Ministry of Finance, Dr. Edward Labisian, meanwhile says government's approach has not been as simplistic as is being suggested.
We are directing our effort towards education until the programs that we are turning out. There is a full computerization system, that is e-government, a World Bank project that is going to register all taxpayers, both individuals and companies.
Etonam said, Joynews.
We'll stay on value-added tax, and tax policy advisor at the Finance Ministry, Dr. Edward Labisian, says only the non-core financial services of banks will attract the newly introduced 17.5% VAT. He adds that the VAT charge on these services, which include legal and accounting advisory, safe custody of cash, among others, will commence by close of next month.
The newly introduced 17.5% value-added tax on some services which were previously exempted from taxes, particularly on financial services, seem to be causing jitters in the bank sector. There are concerns the VAT will be charged on day-to-day services such as maintaining customer current accounts, transferring money, issuing bank drafts and checkbooks, among others. But the tax policy advisor at the Finance Ministry, Dr. Edward Labisian, explains there is no cause for alarm, as it is just some select financial transactions which will attract the new VAT.
The normal financial services that you open an account, they keep your account, are not going to be affected. In fact, the last time we met the banks, they were of the view that it's going to affect their 3 million customers. No. What is going to be affected are the non-core financial services. If there is a bank offering legal services, like an ordinary lawyer in his chambers, that is non-core bank. And many people wouldn't go to a bank normally. They go to the bank to save. So majority of people who bank are not going to be affected.
He was sure the move, although delayed, will be effected by the ending of March.
The final tax is 17.5, but at various stages. The banks, in doing those services, may buy inputs for which they will pay the 17.5. So if they are giving you the service, they will charge the 17.5, but credit themselves with the previous one. So the full impact is never 17.5 at the end. It's a temporary break in its implementation, and we are meeting to clear which areas, and immediately we'll get the areas that we have to tax. It will be implemented. But we don't have too much time. It will be done maybe at the end of March.
Dr. Edward Labisian also maintained the technical committee is still negotiating with the banks to agree on the modalities and the list of services they render to clients that are taxable, and will make them public once they are agreed on. Abigail Adumakwenchi for Joy News.
In Asia, Japan's central bank has expanded 2 key lending programs to try to boost economic growth. It has doubled the size of one facility to 7 trillion yen, about $68 billion, and says banks can now borrow twice as much money at low rates as previously under the second program. The central bank also extended the expiry of both schemes by 1 year. The move comes just a day after Japan reported disappointing growth numbers for the October to December quarter. China's central bank also has removed nearly $8 billion from the money markets in a bid to control the amount of credit in the country's financial system. According to reports, the People's Bank of China did so by issuing 14-day forward bond repurchase agreements, also known as repos. It is the first time since June the PBOC has used forward repos, and comes after China released unusually strong economic data earlier this year. Now, the world's biggest mining company, BHP Billiton, has posted a 31% jump in profits due to improvements in its iron ore, coal and petroleum businesses. The Melbourne-based company also increased its annual payments to shareholders by 3.5% and signals that it may rise further this year. Underlying first half profits was $7.8 billion, beating analysts' forecast for a $6.9 billion profit. BHP shares rose by nearly 2% in Sydney, trading after its earnings release. BHP earns most of its money from the production of iron ore, which is used in the production of steel. Profits from its iron ore business rose by 60%, and steel production from its Western Australia mines hit a record high of 108 million tons. The company also said it thought the global economy would recover further over the rest of the year. That's it for business, but Baba Tando joins us with sports news after this. Don't go away.
Good afternoon, I am Baba Tando. Time now to talk sports. And Ivory Coast striker Lassina Traoré believes he can help Everton to win the FA Cup after scoring on his debut in Sunday's fifth-round win over Swansea. Traoré, who joined the Toffees on loan from Monaco in January, backheeled the opener in his side's 3-1 victory. He told the club's website it was a pleasure to start his first game and to cap it with a great goal. Everton will travel to Arsenal for a quarter-final tie on 8th of March, by which time the 6'8" tall Traoré will have had more time to regain full fitness, having arrived at Goodison Park with a hamstring injury. England manager Roy Hodgson says he is confident Brazil will host a successful World Cup despite potential problems with stadiums and protests. Hodgson is on a visit to Manaus, where England face Italy in their opening game at the Arena Amazonia. The Football Association has made extensive preparations to ensure England's players are able to cope with the conditions. The World Cup begins in Brazil on June 12th, but the Sao Paulo venue due to stage the opening match is one of the sites still under construction. Now, talking about the big games tonight in the Champions League, Fernandinho is set to return to the Manchester City squad for the Champions League last 16 tie against Spanish champions Barcelona later today. Now, the midfielder has missed City's last 3 matches with a muscle problem, but took part in training yesterday. Manchester City have never reached the last 16 of the Champions League before and will be facing Barcelona, who are top of the Spanish league, for the first time in a competitive match. We still stick with the UEFA Champions League, and Barcelona defender Gerard Piqué says his team may have lost their fear factor ahead of their last 16 tie with Manchester City. The Spanish side won the competition in 2009 and 2011, but have failed to make it past the semi-final since. Former Manchester United centre-back Piqué said, maybe they don't fear us as before because in the last 2 years we haven't won the Champions League. Barca's most recent Champions League successes came under former coach Pep Guardiola. However, Tito Villanova's side then were thumped 7-0 in a 2-legged semi-final by eventual winners Bayern Munich last season. Now, German side Bayer Leverkusen play host to Paris Saint-Germain in the round of 16 of the Champions League tonight. PSG are going well in the Ligue 1 and are currently top of the league. They have striker Zlatan Ibrahimovic in good form, with the Swede netting his 19th goal of the campaign in their 3-0 win over Valenciennes at the weekend. Bayer, on the other hand, lost 2-1 to Schalke 04 on Saturday. So we'll be back later on with updates on the Champions League matches that will go on tonight as well as tomorrow. But that will wrap it up for sports this afternoon. Kindly brought to you by Carbell and Tigo. My name is Baba Tando.
You're watching Joy News, and this is News Today. Now, West African defense chiefs will meet in Guinea-Bissau on Tuesday to discuss bolstering security in the region in general and in Guinea-Bissau in particular. The group already has 700 security officials in the country. External Relations Director of the Economic Community of West African States, Abdel Fattah Musa, says during the 3-day summit, the defense chiefs will also discuss security cooperation between ECOWAS and the Economic Community of Central African States. Heads of states from the two regions recently agreed to combat transnational maritime piracy in the Gulf of Guinea. Observers say American cartels are using some West African countries to ship their drugs to Western countries. ECOWAS and other international groups have expressed concern about the challenges the drug problem poses to the region. Islamist militant group Ansar Bayt alMaqdis has said it's carried out a deadly bomb attack on a tourist bus in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula on Sunday. The group warned it was part of its economic war against the current Egyptian authorities, which it described as traitors. 3 South Koreans and an Egyptian were killed in the attack. The Sinai Peninsula has become increasingly lawless since President Hosni Mubarak was overthrown in 2011. Militants further stepped up the attacks after President Mohamed Morsi Let's get into showbiz now. And until recently, there has been a raging debate about whether Ghanaian comedians are indeed funny. But comedian DKB's performance at the just-ended Senior Freak Night Out program on Valentine's Day may have provided an answer for the debate. DKB left patrons in stitches and asking for more after his act, presupposing all our comedians need is a platform.
What is this news about Ghana being attacked by terrorists? Who is that terrorist going to attack Ghana? You are going to attack a plane with Ghana people. First of all, do you know the amount of money they have to save to get a plane ticket? The visa interview, counselor, and all of that. Now they've gotten their ticket, then the visa, they're in the plane. And let me tell you, Ghana people don't get quiet over what they're going to do. Where? America. They are Houston. Alabama. They will start planning for the trip. Then you just get up on the plane. Excuse me, I have bomb on this plane. I am going to bomb. Hold it, sit down. By the time you address them, the next thing is, Kwe Osama Milad Onyenye Feflon. Osama Masheobo. Now he and his brothers in the plane. Kwe Osama Kokeko. Boa Keko Keko. They will fratulate. The whole plane will be full of flatulence. Now you the bomber, you can't bomb again, you have to run away. So the next thing you say, Ahmed, hey Ahmed, no, I can't take this. These people are very disgusting. I want to bomb you fratly the whole place. Let's go, let's take the bomb and let's go.
We get into a closing headlines and officials. University of Ghana UTAG reacts to the demolition of toll booths on campus by national security operatives, describing it as an affront on the school. Tax experts want government's penchant to simply increase taxes without addressing loopholes in the system could backfire. West African defense chiefs to meet in Guinea-Bissau to discuss bolstering security in the region. Islamist militant group Ansar Bayt alMaqdis says it carried out a deadly bomb attack on a tourist bus in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. That's it for the hour. Thank you very much for staying through. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. My name is Kimini Nyamani Amana. Goodbye.